All right, man. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Daily Money Market. New episode. I know it's been long since we actually talked to each other, but this is the politics that affect the global financial markets. We're gonna go through what has been happening in terms of the politics that has been affecting the financial market. A lot of things has been happening in the market, and again we will try to check what actually been driving the market and which assets has been moving through the global politics. So without wasting time, the talking news of the town, of course, has been Donald Trump and the tariff. So Donald Trump has been imposing the tariff for past 3 months, to a different types of countries, especially to the global G7, which is the top 7 countries in the world that actually, brings a lot of financial movement, in the world. And it's been imposing the tariff, and through the story of tariff, that's where we've seen a different organization coming up with a different corroboration so that they can be able to defeat the tariff. So the first tariff that I want us to discuss the tariff that Donald Trump imposed to India, which is very, 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 very important. The reason why we're starting with the India is one of the biggest countries in terms of the population. They are holding over 1.7 billion population in terms of people that are staying in India, right? Now every time these big companies from United States, from Europe, when they want to actually open a company so that that company can be able to produce a mass product that can go all over the world, they mostly choose India to start producing the product in India, because there's a lot of people. That means they're going to get the labor, whether it's a cheap labor, but they're going to get more manpower for the production, for the sake of the production of their product. One of the big companies that we witness is it's Apple. Apple has factories in India. Most of the things they are producing in India when it comes to Apple. So it's India and China, but we'll get to the China part. For now, we are in India. So United States imposing a tariff to India over 50%. There was a meeting with a Prime Minister of India, Moudi, and Donald Trump, trying to discuss this thing, trying to reduce, the tariff price so that it can go below 50%, but it didn't happen. Now, let's look into the reason why United States has really, 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 frustrated and imposed India with a 50%. Okay? Now, India has been the major buyer of oil from Russia, right? So United States is accusing India to say that India, they are the ones that are sponsoring Russia by buying their product. Once someone is buying their product, now Russia, they have enough money to continue with the war that is happening with the Ukraine, right? So that's about what you call the United States claiming that for the fact that the Indians has been actually, buying the oil from Russia, they are 90% buyer of oil that comes from Russia, right? That's why they give them the impose of 50%. But again, the response from Moudi was saying, Russia, they are giving us the oil with a cheaper price. Remember what happened with Russia. For past videos, we've been talking about Russia, Ukraine, and as well as, United States. Russia has been imposed with so many sanctions from United States, cutting them to supply their product to Europe, their product to almost everywhere in the world. Now, Russia, what did? They decided to reduce the price of their goods, right? The biggest production that Russia has, it's a natural gas. The second biggest is oil. They decided to reduce a little bit price of natural gas and as well as the price of crude oil that they produce. So if the country, they want to save and they have a bigger population, where should they buy the oil? Should they go to buy WTI, which is the American oil, the West Texas oil, or they should go to buy where they can be able to afford and to be able to feed the high population that they have? So in a normal reason, we might say that India, they decided to buy oil in Russia because it's affordable. It's not because of whatever it's happening, but because of it's affordable, right? But still, United States continuously to impose the sanction to actually, to India with the 50%. But India never stopped like that. They tried to, to championing in other global waste, so that at least if the global South, combine together, they can be able, to come up with a plan. That's where we saw again the emerging of the meeting between Xi Jinping, president from China, Moudi, president from India, prime minister from India, Putin, Vladimir Putin, president from Russia, and as well as the president from Japan. He was there having the discussion. But the most powerful discussion that they had, it was about the agreement of gold, the price of gold, the agreement of crude oil, that agreement of natural gas. So it's about the energy talk, right, that we saw. A lot of countries, they come with that Japan conference. They came, countries like Brazil, countries like all the countries that are in the global south, they were there to participate. But the big one, they were all these four countries that they were big ones, right? Again, after that, that was a celebration of China of their the end of the World War II. They celebrated. We saw the parade, the military parade that President Xi, showed the whole world how much, military strength these guys they have. But still staying on India, right? They had an agreement, they had a talk with China and as well as Russia, and they have striking the energy deal. So the energy deal now, again, China has been accepting even the natural gas to go directly to China. Then from China, they can now start distributing to different countries. Same as gold, India produced a large deposit of gold as well, and China have been accepted that they're gonna start buying that gold from there, because if they sell it to US, the tariff is high, it's 50%. How much profit they're gonna make from that? That's why they decided that, oh, okay, the Chinese, they will take them. They also have a big, large, when it comes to the population. So that's what's been cooking in terms of tariff imposing to the Indians, right? To the India. But it never stopped there. There was a conversation, a hot conversation that was happening a couple of weeks ago about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. This was the first time Vladimir Putin visiting, United States in over 10 years, right? And to look at what was happening there, into details. The detail number one is the place where they were actually, meeting, right? The place is called Alaska. The reason why they choose Alaska, it's on a coastline between the ocean, that once you jump that ocean, you are in Russia. So pretty much it's very close. They are neighbors. They're divided by the ocean, right? But Alaska, it's a close one. And again, Alaska has a history of where the soldiers of Russia were buried during the World War II. So that's where they decided to have their peace talk agreement. Now, the peace talk agreement was about Russia and the Ukraine, trying to bring these guys to say that, guys, the war should at least an end, and we should find a solution for the war that is happening. But we saw what happened, right? Russia talked with a Donald Trump. What Russia was looking for is a territorial agreement. They need to have some territorial agreement to say that this land is going to go to Russia. Now, let's reverse a little bit. Change gearbox. Reverse, we'll put an R, right? Now, on the beginning, Russia has started a war on Ukraine, right? Invading Ukraine. When we look deeply into what is the reason of invading the Ukraine, a lot of sources they've been talking about this was because some of the land that is in Ukraine belongs to the Russians. So the Russia, they wanted to take that land back. Now, if we zoom in again on that land, we find out that that land, it has a pipeline of gas that comes from Russia, goes all the way to Germany. From the German, he distributed the entire Europe. Remember, Russia is the biggest producer of natural gas and the biggest distributor of natural gas. Europeans, they survive because of the Russian natural gas, right? Now it's winter. They warm up their houses because of the natural gas that comes from Russia. So Russians, they want that land. It's their land by the law, by the birth law, if you may say that. Maybe from years and years ago, that place, that specific area, used to be part of Russia until they give the Soviets give to Ukrainians. Now they wanted that land back. So that was the topic number one. Topic number two, it was about the territorial of NATO. NATO wanted to put their base near Russia's border, which is that specific area that we're talking about. So the same specific area, it has a pipeline of gas. The same specific area, it has also NATO wanted to install their base, a military base there. So Russia didn't want it to have their enemy base right in front of their border. They said no, it's not gonna happen. That's why the war started, to occur. Now, a year later or year and a half later, that's where they come the conversation of Donald Trump and as well as Vladimir Putin about Alaska talk. Now, what we learn about Alaska talk is that Russia, they wanted the land, they wanted the territorial land, and as well as they want NATO not to build their base near their borders, right? Finish and clear. That's what Vladimir Putin wants. Now, Zelensky, what do you want? He wants the same land. He doesn't want Russia to take that land. He doesn't want to give that land to Russia. He said this is the Ukraine according to the Soviet agreement that happened back in the days, right? Now it happens, they had a conversation, there were no agreement. The following week, we saw European leaders meeting with Zelensky, backing up on Zelensky. But again, Donald Trump, what is actually emphasized is that Ukraine should give a territorial land to Russia to end this. Then Russia can give them a guarantee of security, the security guarantee that Ukrainians they are looking for. So that's where right now we're sitting at. But we saw again Russia going to China, as what I've been explaining, the summit that happened in China. Russia was there again. Vladimir Putin was there speaking with the President Xi, having the military agreement with the President Xi. So that's really, interesting, and it still is going to unfold. It's not done yet. It's going to unfold. And again, remember, these are the global politics that are affecting the financial market. Now, how did this, what we're talking, been affecting the financial market? So if you're going to look the price of natural gas itself, you can see the price of natural gas has been depreciated to all the way lower, at least to 2.9 or 3.0 MMBTU. That's not where it's supposed to be as a price of that asset itself. It's supposed to be a little bit higher as a price of an asset. Again, if we look at the price of gold, has been spiking up, reaching the all-time high 3,670, preparing to go to 4,000 mark, right? Again, because of, again, as we said, India is one of the biggest guys that have a big deposit of gold. And now if India is no longer selling gold to US, they're going to find another market. And people now, because of this tariff happening, now they start losing the momentum or trust in dollar itself, and gives the safe haven as gold to have the momentum. So that's clear. That's what we see, that it actually, these politics actually affecting this global financial market. All right. Now, the third one that we see, the biggest story, it was about earnings. There was a lot of earnings that comes in a couple 3 weeks ago. We saw the earnings of Meta performing very, very well. 695.21 growth, up to 22% year to year, beating a Wall Street expectations, which was a 6%. It goes to 22% year to year, beating a 6%. So Meta has been really performing very well. Earnings, Amazon earnings again, they were released for past couple of weeks ago. Then from then, it was a battle about the interest rate. After then, it was just a battle about the interest rate. But before we get to the battle of the interest rate, there was also a battle between the AI technology companies and Donald Trump imposing the tariff. There was also a case that actually comes from a constitutional court saying that Donald Trump and imposing tariff is illegal, right? And that case is actually right now continuously going. Now, if the judges, they're going to judge to say that this is illegal for imposing the tariff to these countries or to these companies that produce technology, a product, right? What will happen to those tariffs? Would tariff going to come back, or would Donald Trump going to cut that tariff so that it shouldn't have any tariff anymore? We don't know. Pretty much, Donald Trump right now is fighting. He has appealed that that judgment, and we're gonna see what will come out of the appeal of the judgment. Okay, so that's about Donald Trump, and when it comes to the technology companies and imposing the tariff, because he's been trying to impose tariff to companies like Nvidia, companies like TikTok. Again, last week conversation, it was there, Donald Trump talking, with the guys that they own a TikTok about the ownership of TikTok in the United States. Here's the crazy part: in the United States, they have 1.7 billion people who use TikTok. Now Trump was like, guys, never. You have almost a lot of people in the United States using a TikTok, and the whole money is going straight to China. That can't happen. It makes sense. If you have so much people using the tariff, give that, take the specific TikTok that it belongs to US and give them a cut. Right? But Donald Trump doesn't want that. He wants actually the TikTok US to be sold to United States companies. There's companies like Oracle has already placed a bet on that TikTok sold the department that belongs to US. But again, the TikTok guys, they're saying no, we can't just giving you the whole product that it's already done. We produce the product, right? There's also the chip certificate that are there, the AI certificates that are there that we go through and produce all this stuff. So we can't just give you for free, for mahala. So that's where there's a conversation right now, a discussion. How is it gonna be? Whether who's gonna buy what? Licenses, or you're buying the whole product. We're gonna see how it's unfold. But that's what the conversation take us all the way to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has been very, very, high anticipation talk for past 2 weeks. For past 2 weeks, in fact, for past a month, right? As Donald Trump, since he came in the president, he's been saying he want to cut the interest rate. But the president of Federal Reserve, Jeremy Powell, he's also been saying that I'm not going to cut the interest rate. It has to be data dependent. And we've been seeing the data coming from, consumer price index were not really, really good and surpassing the estimation numbers. The non-farm payroll, the jobs report from United States, it didn't pass this, estimation numbers. But when it comes to jobless claim, they were much more bigger. A lot of people are claiming are looking for jobs, but there's no job that is being provided, right? So that's why the Trump Jeremy Powell didn't want to cut the interest rate. He wanted to put the interest rate on a pause and to wait to see where exactly the data is going to change. Right, but Donald Trump has been continuously forcing so that they can cut. They even have a story that they wanted to remove the Fed chair Cook. There's a lady on the Federal Reserve Board. It's a Fed chair Cook. They're the ones that actually vote, and when it comes to the Fed, they actually wanted to remove him, from that. And the Fed chair Cook, the fight, he went to the court, and he's still there on that position. But also, he actually put his guy. So there was one guy, I think it's Hooker, the chair Hooker. I think he's the one that is going to take over after Jeremy Powell has actually go out of the position. So there's Hooker then that actually, being voted by by the cabinet to be part of the board of Federal Reserve. So he was in. After he came in, that's where we saw the change when it comes to interest rate. Last week, they have announced the 25 basis points cut from United States, giving at least a little bit cheaper in terms of things. He wants people to afford things in a basket, but it's tricky. If you cut 25 basis points, to reduce a little bit things while you are imposing tariff to different countries, it's tricky. It's not data dependent, right? So it might happen that they will cut 25 basis points now, but when it starts from December, January, now it's gonna start again increasing, going all the way up. So yeah, that's what has been happening when it comes to politics that actually affected the global financial market. Again, in locally in South Africa, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, all shares they end up at the end of the week, going all the way up. Top 40 has gained with 0.25% as well this week. And when we look at the industrial at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has grown as well with 0.7%. The mining part, they're not doing well. There's a lot of, when it comes to, cutting the jobs in the mining sector. So things are not doing well again when it comes to mining sector. So we saw the all mining share in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange dipping to 3.7% at the end of the week, trading week. What else has been happening in South Africa locally is the interest rate. The Federal Reserve governor here, Lesesha Kganyago, come out and keep the interest rate on a pause. He didn't cut, he didn't reduce, he didn't increase, he just kept it on a pause. What does it mean? It means the rates remain the same, the way they was last month until this month. But we are hoping that the rates will be able to be cut. So yeah, man, that's it. That was the politics that affected the global financial market. Until we meet again. But again, keep subscribing, watching the video, share with other guys. Keep the like, man. Just in the subscribe. Just one subscribe. Come on. Aibo. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.